About AD 170, a Christian who lived in Asia Minor, a man called Marcion, made the first stab at deciding what of all these ancient Christian books would actually go into a proper Bible. Trouble was, Marcion was a Gnostic. He didn't believe Jesus had been born. He thought that he actually sprung from the brain of God, fully grown. And he also thought Jews were the work of the devil, which somewhat limited his choice of books. The Gospel of Luke was chosen. It was the only Gospel which seemed to him to be any good at all. It was cut down to about a quarter of its proper size, and a couple of Paul's letters were thrown in. So Marcion's choice of books was somehow a manifesto of his beliefs. Now, about the same time, in Italy, there was somebody else composing a list of books suitable for a Christian Bible. And that one is actually much bigger than we've got today. So there's quite a little choice going on all over the place. People are making their own choices. But the one that won, the one we have today, doesn't come from the Holy Land or anywhere in the East. It comes from Lyon in the south of France. Lyon had actually been established by the Romans. It wasn't a French city, it was a Roman city. It was part of that international world that went all around the Mediterranean. It was founded in about AD 50 for the Roman legionaries. And it was actually full of Greeks from Asia Minor. And there were Christian missionaries too who'd come to the town to convert the local people and the Roman soldiers.
The temples that the Greeks brought with them from Asia Minor to Lyon are still here. These beautiful ruins high above the modern town. Over there is the temple of Cybele, the great mother goddess of Asia Minor. Over there, of course, a Christian church dedicated to the Virgin Mary, the great mother goddess of the Christian faith. Now, the Christians that came here thought of themselves as rather special people. These were people from Antioch, from Smyrna, from Ephesus. Some of them had been taught by people, they said, who had sat at the feet of John himself. They were very, very close to the source of Christianity. And here they were in Lyon. They kept a very tight connection with their old church, though. They learned the local language, they converted local people, but it was a very Eastern church. After lots of martyrs had died at Lyon, including the old bishop who was beaten up and died in prison, the church official, a Greek called Irenaeus, came to a really momentous decision. A decision that would not only affect the Bible, but the entire future history of the church. He wrote a book. It was the first Catholic book, the first universal book of the Christian church, a theological tome called Against the Heresies.
His book was a violent attack on a part of the Christian church. It was as if Irenaeus was saying to the audience in the amphitheatre, this is Christianity, this is what our people are dying for. For the Gnostics were dying in that amphitheatre as bravely as members of his own congregation. Like St. Paul before him, Irenaeus believed that true Christianity was his Christianity. He thought that the Gnostics were holy anarchists. He wanted to show the world an organised and universal church, not a secret sect. Irenaeus never tells us directly of his vision in the book. He argues, he insults, he refutes. Christianity, he says, is not like this, it's not like that. And slowly, through his arguments, you begin to see what it was like for him. And as Irenaeus had come from Asia Minor, the old stamping ground of St. John and St. Paul, part of his vision went back to the days of the first church, almost to Jesus and Jerusalem. How then did Irenaeus go about deciding what would go in our Bible? Well, the Old Testament was easy. That had been decided years before, no trouble. But the New Testament, that was still a big problem. What the man relied on at the end of the day was what he considered to be the most sacred thing. Remember, he'd come from Asia Minor. He'd known men in his childhood who had sat at the feet of John. He had a problem, he says once, about the book of Revelations. He could write to a man who he thought had known John himself. The traditions in that part of the church went back through the disciples, even to Jesus. It was a tradition that was a verbal tradition as well as a literary tradition. They knew what was sacred and they knew the heart of the Bible. And this was actually going right through the Mediterranean. Just at the same time the martyrs of Lyon were being killed, martyrs were being killed in North Africa. And when their judges asked them what they were dying for, they said they were dying for the Gospels and the letters of a just man, one Paul. But how many Gospels were there? Well, Irenaeus had no doubt about that at all. He doesn't even begin to defend it on any logical grounds at all. He says there were 4 Gospels. There were 4 Gospels like there were 4 winds, like there were 4 corners of the universe, like the 4 cherubim of Ezekiel's vision. 4 was the order of the universe, and 4 was the heart of his New Testament. It seems rather silly now to ask again if these 4 Gospels are true or false. For in history, as in faith, real truth, insight, is never to be found in bits of information, scientific facts, but in the order, in the patterns that you choose to make with them.